Welcome to the NewsHour. It was the first attack in the Trump administration's new campaign in the Caribbean, and it has become the most contentious. A U.S. official tells the PBS NewsHour tonight the U.S. military struck an alleged drug boat 4 times on September 2nd. And today, President Trump and Secretary Pete Hegseth defended the attack, but also distanced themselves from the follow-on strike that targeted people who weren't killed by the first strike. Nick Schifrin joins us now. So, Nick, what have you learned about what happened on September 2nd?
Well, exactly what you just said, Jeff. The U.S. military struck that boat on September 2nd 4 times, according to a U.S. official speaking to me today. The official said that after the first strike, there were people on board who were not killed. The second strike targeted them. The third and fourth strikes were designed to sink the boat. Now,
all right, so let me get this straight. The Trump administration just threw a Navy admiral completely under the bus. Like full speed, no brakes, didn't even look back. And now Trump is out here blasting the entire military for, wait for it, betraying him. Can you believe this? The man who ordered the strikes, or at least his people did, is now pointing fingers at everyone else like he had nothing to do with it. This is absolutely wild. And I need you to understand just how insane the situation has gotten, because we are watching a full-blown civil war erupt between the White House and the Pentagon in real time. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video. So here's what happened, and pay close attention, because this is important. Back in September, there was this operation in the Caribbean.
The Pentagon announcing another U.S. strike on an alleged drug trafficking boat decimated off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Pete Hegseth says 4 men were killed. He described them as narco-terrorists. Despite questions about evidence and due process, the administration insists lethal strikes like these will continue. Here's ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, the Pentagon releasing this video of a deadly military airstrike on what officials say, without providing evidence, was a drug boat attempting to smuggle narcotics into the U.S.
U.S. forces were going after Venezuelan drug boats, which sounds like standard stuff, right? We've been doing this kind of thing for years, and nobody really pays attention. But then something happened that's got everyone losing their minds. After one of these boats got hit, after it was already sinking, after people were already in the water, they hit it again. A second strike on survivors, people clinging to wreckage, just trying to stay alive. And now everyone's scrambling to figure out who gave that order, and nobody wants to take responsibility for it. The White House says it was Admiral Frank Bradley. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he never gave any kill orders. And Trump is furious, but not at the people who might have committed what legal experts are calling a war crime. No. He's mad at the military for making him look bad, for not having his back, for in his words betraying him. Are you kidding me right now? The commander-in-chief is out here playing victim while his own administration points fingers at a career Navy officer who is just following the aggressive policies they've been pushing for months. Let me just paint this picture for you real quick, because the hypocrisy here is absolutely staggering. We've got a situation where over 20 vessels have been sunk, 83 people are dead, and the administration's response is to play the blame game while bragging about it at the same time. Hegseth literally said at a cabinet meeting, and this is a direct quote, "We've only just begun sending narco-terrorists to the ocean floor." He's proud of this. He's bragging about it. He wanted everyone to know how tough they were being. And then when the heat comes suddenly, it's all Admiral Bradley's fault. Suddenly nobody knew anything. Suddenly Trump is the victim here. This is the thing that gets me. This is what drives me absolutely crazy about how this administration operates. They want all the credit when things go well. They want to be the tough guys. They want to pound their chests and talk about how they're crushing the cartels and protecting America. But the absolute second, something goes sideways, they scatter like roaches when the lights come on. In the military, the actual people who carried out these orders, they get left holding the bag while everyone in the White House pretends they had nothing to do with it. Admiral Bradley is testifying before Congress today. Right now, as we speak, he's up there answering questions about who gave these orders and what he knew and what he was told. And here's the thing, Democrats are already saying the administration is throwing him under the bus. Representative Seth Moulton said it directly. This is classic Trump. Find a fall guy, blame the generals, pretend you had nothing to do with it. And the worst part is, we've seen this playbook before. This is exactly how Trump treats anyone who becomes inconvenient to him. But wait, it gets even better. Because this isn't even the first time Trump has gone after military leadership. Remember what happened at Quantico? He fired generals he called woke. He's been demanding loyalty oaths from military commanders. He's been reshaping the entire Pentagon to make sure everyone in uniform answers to him personally. And now when one of those commanders does exactly what the administration wanted, when they carry out the aggressive no mercy policy that Trump has been pushing since day one, now suddenly Trump doesn't know the guy. Now suddenly it's all on Bradley. The Pentagon is furious, like genuinely furious in a way we haven't seen in years. There are reports of furious backlash inside the Defense Department over the White House throwing Bradley out there like this. These are people who have served their country for decades, people who follow orders, people who do what they're told, and they're watching one of their own get sacrificed for political convenience, while the people who gave those orders pretend they never met him. How do you think that makes them feel? How do you think that affects morale? How do you think that affects whether the next admiral or the next general or the next commander is going to stick their neck out when Trump asks them to do something risky? And here's what makes this even more insane. This whole thing is happening while Trump is escalating tensions with Venezuela across the board, oil sanctions, migration crackdowns, aggressive military operations in their waters. You want to know why gas prices might spike? This is why. You want to know why there's chaos in the Caribbean? This is why. And the guy steering the ship is out here attacking his own Navy because they're not covering for him hard enough. So let's break this down. Let's actually dig into what happened and who said what and why this scandal might be the thing that finally fractures Trump's relationship with the military for good. Okay, so to really understand what's going on here, we need to go back to September. That's when this whole double tap thing happened. And yeah, I know double tap sounds like something from a video game, but in military terms, it means something very specific and very dark. It's the kind of tactic that makes international lawyers lose sleep at night, and it's exactly what we're now being told happened in the Caribbean under this administration's watch. A double tap strike is when you hit a target and then wait for people to respond, maybe survivors trying to escape, maybe rescuers coming to help, maybe medics trying to save lives, and then you hit it again. It's designed to maximize casualties. It's designed to make sure nobody gets out alive, and historically, it's been incredibly controversial because we're talking war crime territory here. This is the kind of thing that international law was specifically written to prevent. This is what we condemn other countries for doing. And now we're finding out that American forces may have done exactly this under orders from this administration. So what happened in September? U.S. forces were conducting counter-narcotics operations in the Caribbean. They identified a Venezuelan drug boat and they engaged it and they sank it. Mission accomplished, right? The boat's going down and the drug runners are in the water and you'd think that would be the end of it. But then, and this is the part that's got everyone going crazy, they circled back. They saw survivors in the water, people clinging to debris, just trying to stay alive. And they struck again. They killed people who were no longer a threat, people who were helpless, people who were just trying to survive, and someone gave that order. Now look, I get it. These were allegedly drug traffickers. These were allegedly people moving poison into our country, and I'm not here to defend drug cartels. Nobody is defending drug cartels. But here's the thing. We have laws. We have international agreements. We have rules of engagement that exist for a reason. You don't execute people who are helpless in the water. That's not who we're supposed to be. That's not what the U.S. military is supposed to do. That's not what separates us from the bad guys. And when we cross that line, we become something else entirely. And the legal experts are not mincing words about this. They're calling it a potential war crime, and they're absolutely serious. They're pointing out that in peacetime, and technically we are not at war with Venezuela despite all the saber rattling, you cannot just kill people like this. There are rules, there are boundaries, there are laws that govern how military force can be used even against criminals, and we crossed them badly, and now everyone's scrambling to figure out who's going to take the blame. But here's where it gets really interesting. Here's where the blame game starts and things get ugly fast. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt came out and confirmed that yes, the second strike happened. She didn't deny it. She couldn't deny it because too many people knew, but she immediately pointed the finger at Admiral Frank Bradley. She said he authorized it. She made it very clear that this was Bradley's call and Bradley's decision and Bradley's responsibility. The White House was basically saying, don't look at us, look at him. And then Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth came out and said he never gave any kill orders. He denied any personal involvement. He made sure everyone knew that whatever happened, it wasn't on him. Classic cover your rear stuff right there. Make sure when the music stops, you're not the one without a chair. Make sure when Congress starts asking questions, you've got plausible deniability. Make sure the paper trail doesn't lead back to your desk. But wait, didn't Hegseth just brag about this like 2 days ago at a cabinet meeting? He literally said they've only just begun sending narco-terrorists to the ocean floor. He was proud of it. He was pumped about it. He wanted everyone to know how tough they were being. He wanted the credit. He wanted to be the tough guy. And now he's saying he had nothing to do with the specific strike that's causing all the problems. Come on. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot brag about the policy and then deny responsibility for how that policy gets implemented. This is the thing that's making the Pentagon so angry. This is why there's furious backlash inside the Defense Department, because the message from the top has been absolutely clear for months. Get aggressive, take the fight to the cartels, don't worry about the legal niceties, show no mercy. And Bradley did exactly that. He followed the policy, he implemented the strategy, he did what the administration wanted him to do, and now he's being hung out to dry because the strategy turned out to be potentially illegal, because the tough guy approach crossed the line, because someone finally started asking questions. Think about what that means for every other military commander watching this unfold. Think about what lesson they're learning right now as they watch Admiral Bradley get sacrificed. The lesson is crystal clear. If you follow orders and something goes wrong, you're on your own. The White House won't protect you. The Secretary of Defense won't protect you. You'll be the one sitting in front of Congress explaining yourself while the people who told you to do it pretend they never met you. That's the message being sent right now. That's what military leadership is learning from this scandal. And Trump is taking this whole thing personally. Of course he is. Everything is personal with Trump. He's out there blasting the military for betraying him, for not being loyal enough, for not protecting him from this scandal. He's acting like he's the victim here. Like the real crime isn't what happened to those people in the water, but what's happening to his reputation. Like the real tragedy is that someone's making him look bad. Can you believe the audacity of that? This fits a pattern, by the way. This is exactly how Trump has treated military leadership for years, going back to his first term. He demands total loyalty. He wants generals who will do whatever he says without question. And when they do, when they follow his lead, when they implement his aggressive policies, he abandons them the second it becomes politically inconvenient, the second there's blowback, the second someone starts asking uncomfortable questions. Then suddenly he doesn't know them. Suddenly they went rogue. Suddenly it's all their fault. Remember, this is the same administration that fired generals at Quantico for being woke. This is the same Trump who's been demanding loyalty oaths from military commanders, like some kind of medieval king. He's been reshaping the Pentagon in his image, getting rid of anyone who might push back, replacing them with people who will fall in line. And now we're seeing the consequences of that. We're seeing what happens when you create a military culture based on personal loyalty to one man rather than adherence to law and principle. You get commanders who follow illegal orders and then get abandoned when those orders blow up in everyone's face. The congressional testimony happening today is absolutely huge. Admiral Bradley is up there answering questions from both parties, and the stakes could not be higher. Democrats are going hard on the war powers angle. They want to know who authorized these strikes and what the legal basis was and whether Congress was properly notified. Republicans are in an incredibly awkward spot because they want to support the tough on drugs policy, but they also don't want to be seen defending potential war crimes. Nobody wants that on their record heading into an election year. And here's what's really at stake here. This isn't just about one admiral or one strike or one boat in the Caribbean. This is about the entire command chain. This is about whether the president can order military operations that violate international law and then blame subordinates when it blows up. This is about accountability at the highest levels of government. This is about whether anyone in this administration will ever be held responsible for anything. The numbers on this whole operation are staggering, by the way. Over 20 vessels sunk, 83 people killed in the Caribbean and Pacific boat. This has been a systematic campaign, not just one incident, not just one bad decision, a pattern of aggressive operations that now we're finding out included killing people who were already neutralized, people who are no longer threats, people in the water just trying to survive. And what happens next is going to depend a lot on what Bradley says today and how Congress reacts to it. All right, so let's break this down into the key points here. Let's make sure we actually understand what's happening and why it matters, because this story is moving fast and there's a lot of noise out there. So let me cut through it for you and give you the 4 things you absolutely need to understand about this scandal. Point number 1, the double tap strike itself. This is the core of the scandal, and this is what everything else flows from. U.S. forces hit a Venezuelan drug boat and sank it and then came back to kill survivors in the water. That's what happened. That's what we now know. And this is potentially a war crime under international law. In peacetime, you cannot execute people who are no longer combatants. You cannot kill helpless people. Full stop. There is no exception for drug traffickers. There is no exception for people you don't like. There is no exception because the president wants to look tough. Legal experts are unanimous on this. Whatever you think about drug traffickers and whatever you think about getting tough on cartels, this crossed a line that should never be crossed. Point number 2, the blame game that's now consuming this administration. The White House is pointing at Admiral Bradley. Secretary Hegseth is denying he gave kill orders. Trump is blaming the whole military for betrayal. Everyone's pointing fingers at everyone else and nobody wants to take responsibility. But here's the thing, none of that changes what happened. Someone gave the order for that second strike. Someone authorized killing people in the water. Someone made that call. And right now, instead of accountability, we're getting finger pointing. Instead of answers, we're getting excuses. The administration wants credit for being tough, but won't accept responsibility for going too far. They want to brag about sending people to the ocean floor, but they don't want to answer questions when it turns out some of those people were helpless survivors. Point number 3, the military is absolutely furious about this. There's backlash inside the Pentagon like we haven't seen in a very long time. These are career officers and enlisted personnel who've dedicated their lives to serving this country. People who follow orders, people who do what they're told, and they're watching one of their own get sacrificed for political convenience. Bradley did what the administration wanted. He implemented the aggressive policy they've been pushing. He followed the strategy they laid out, and now he's being thrown under the bus because it turned out to be illegal. That's a betrayal of everyone who wears the uniform. That's going to have consequences for morale and trust up and down the chain of command for years to come. Point number 4, this connects to everything else Trump has done with the military since taking office: the firings at Quantico, the loyalty oaths, the reshaping of Pentagon leadership, the purging of anyone who might push back or ask uncomfortable questions. Trump has been systematically building a military that answers to him personally rather than to the Constitution or the law. And now we're seeing what that looks like in practice. Commanders who take aggressive action get abandoned when things go wrong. Loyalty only flows one way, up to Trump, and never back down to the people who carried out his policies. That's the system he's built. That's what we're watching collapse in real time. So why does this matter right now? Why is today's testimony so important? Why should you care about what Admiral Bradley says to Congress? Because Bradley is going to have to choose. He can take the fall and accept all the blame and protect the White House. He can be the good soldier one more time and fall on his sword so that Trump and Hegseth can walk away clean, or he can tell the truth about what orders he received and who he talked to and what the actual chain of command looked like. And if he does that, if he starts naming names and producing receipts and showing the paper trail, this scandal explodes. This becomes about the president and the Secretary of Defense, not just one admiral. Congress is paying close attention to every word Bradley says today. Democrats are using this to attack what they're calling lawless orders from the administration. They want to invoke war powers authorities. They want oversight. They want accountability. They want someone to finally answer for what happened. And honestly, some Republicans are uncomfortable too. Nobody wants to be on record defending the killing of helpless people in the water, no matter what those people might have done. Nobody wants that clip playing in campaign ads next year. Nobody wants to explain to voters why they thought executing survivors was acceptable. The 2026 midterms are coming, and this is exactly the kind of scandal that shapes elections. If the public starts believing that Trump's military operations are out of control, that we're committing war crimes in the Caribbean, that the administration is covering it up by throwing admirals under the bus, that's a political problem. That's the kind of thing that moves voters. That's the kind of thing that changes the outcome in swing districts. And everyone in Washington knows it, which is why the spin machines are working overtime right now. And the international implications are deadly serious too. Venezuela is already hostile to the United States. They're going to use this scandal for everything it's worth. They're going to go to the UN and to international courts and to anyone who will listen. They're going to say America is conducting illegal military operations in their waters. They're going to say we're killing their citizens without due process. And honestly, they might have a point. This gives our enemies ammunition. This makes it harder to maintain moral high ground when we criticize other countries for human rights abuses. How do we lecture China or Russia or anyone else when we're killing helpless people in the water? Here's the bottom line. Trump wanted to look tough on drugs. He wanted dramatic footage and big body counts in cabinet meetings where his Secretary of Defense brags about sending people to the ocean floor. He got all of that. He got the tough guy image he wanted. But he also got dead people in the water who shouldn't have been killed. He got potential war crimes. He got a scandal that's now consuming his administration. And his response, his only response, is to blame everyone else, to attack the military, to throw his own admiral under the bus, to play the victim while bodies float in the Caribbean. That's not leadership. That's not accountability. That's not what we should expect from a commander-in-chief. The military follows orders. That's what they do. That's their job. But when those orders are illegal, when they cross lines that shouldn't be crossed, someone has to answer for it. And it shouldn't just be the admiral who pulled the trigger. It should be the people who pointed the gun. Admiral Bradley is testifying right now. What he says today could change everything. It could expose the entire command chain. It could force accountability at the highest levels. Or it could be another cover-up, another fall guy, another chapter in the story of how this administration operates. Keep watching because this isn't over, not by a long shot. And if you think this is the last time Trump throws his own people under the bus to save himself, yeah, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. Stay tuned because more on this is coming as it develops.